Hey, it's DeShuan Tate, 92.9 The Game's college basketball in-house insider here in Atlanta. And I want to put some things into perspective for you, give you a little bit of Tate's take as the college basketball season is now upon us. So I've been hearing even more rumblings about the Duke Blue Devils and how they can beat the worst team in the NBA right now record-wise, being the Cleveland Cavaliers. That's right, you heard me right. How crazy is it to think that they can beat a professional team? The same way that we heard a lot of talks about Alabama's football team a few years ago being able to beat an NFL team in the Jacksonville Jaguars or the Cleveland Browns. It's just something that I'm not a believer in. However, let me tell you what I am a believer in. That would be Tre Jones, the brother of Tyus Jones, who led Duke to a 2015 national championship in Indianapolis. Now, granted, he's not the number 1, number 2, or number 3 ranked player in this class that is R.J. Barrett, Zion Williamson, as is Cam Reddish. But he is the number 10 ranked recruit in this class. And let's talk about the job he did against Kentucky last week in the Champions Classic and why he's so good but not getting nearly enough recognition as he deserves. Sure, he'd only had 6 points in that game. However, he did have 7 assists. He orchestrated the offense. He got all the guys involved. He had 0 turnovers, and he controlled the tempo very, very well. And speaking of a team like Kentucky, don't give up on them just yet. Let's go back to 2012, where the Duke Blue Devils beat the Kentucky Wildcats in that same State Farm Champions Classic, but the Kentucky Wildcats went on to win the national title under Coach Calipari and giving him his first. But then you have in 2015 where the Kentucky Wildcats beat the Duke Blue Devils in the State Farm Champions Classic. And the Duke Blue Devils went on in that same year to win the national championship under Jahlil Okafor, Tyus Jones, and Justice Winslow and company. Well, this year, the Duke Blue Devils went ahead and took care of business, as we all know, against Kentucky. Does that mean that Kentucky's going to win a national championship? I won't go that far either, but that still remains to be seen. And how about this? Let this sink in. Here's a little bit of Tate's take for you. If Coach K wins the national championship this year as the head coach of Duke, that will give him his 6th national championship as the head coach of the university. The first 3 championships came in 1991 under Christian Laettner, 2010 under Nolan Smith and Kyle Singler, and 2015 under Justice Winslow and Okafor and Tre Jones. All 3 of those titles coming in Indianapolis. The other 2 national championships for Duke, 1992 and 2001 in Minneapolis, Minnesota. This year's national championship game and Final Four will be played in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So let that sink in just a little bit.